Okay, I usually do not post twice in a day, but this has just been something that keeps saying you need to talk about this because somebody out there needs to hear it. Um, so there's this thing that I do when there is something that, I desire or I see in my future. Um, and I kind of forgot about it, and it works, but I just sort of stopped doing it, I guess. One of the things that I do is in the morning, I will videotape myself just like this, talking about my desires, my dreams, the things that I see that are going to, transpire or take place. And I do it kind of for documentation purposes to then see when the evidence does show up as to something happening. So a lot of people wait until something happens to give them permission to move forward. And let me just try to give you an example. It's the best way that maybe everybody could understand what I'm saying. Let's say that you want a different job. And so you decide that, you want XYZ job, and you start doing things, right? Because you have to take an action step to get a new job. You can't just say, I want a new job and then not do anything, because it's not going to happen. So let's say that you go, okay, I want to be a director. I want to be a director. And you want to be a director of, I don't know, retail, let's just say. And so you start doing research, and you know that there's a certain place that maybe you want to go to work at. And oh my gosh, they're just, as you're doing your research, you see that they have a job opening. So instead of, just submitting your resume, you take action steps beforehand, like you go get a new interview suit. You maybe go and get your hair done. Maybe you go and get your nails done. Then you update your resume. And then let's just say that job isn't in this city. Well, after you've updated your resume and you go ahead and you submit that with your cover letter, now you start doing research on this city that you want to live in. And in your research, you're researching, what area of town would I want to live in? What's important to me that needs to be around where I live? What is the cost of rent there? And maybe you even go as far as picking out an apartment that you would like to live in, once the job offer has been made to you. It's about movement. It's about taking steps forward when you have no evidence that that's where it's going. It's almost like you are constructing the story for the universe, and eventually the universe will catch up with what you're doing and give you the evidence of it. And I think the thing that I want to talk about probably the most is that especially people that are my age or maybe a little bit older, where God gave you a dream and life happens. So maybe you have a family, or you were heavily into your career, and now you're at that stage of life where a lot of people almost convince themselves that they're too old to chase that dream, because I know that I did that myself. And I am so grateful that I did not do that. That would have been one of my biggest regrets, is not chasing my dreams. So what I'm saying to you is that you are not too old ever to chase your dreams. And God gave you that desire for a reason, because there is something that you are going to accomplish in that the world needs to see or hear or, become part of. And you just need to take those little steps forward, even when there is no evidence that any of that is ever going to happen. It's just like, gosh, I think it was back in March, I wanted to do an acting class, and I kept putting it off. And then finally I just said, I went ahead and booked my, online thing, and it wasn't even starting until May. So think about that. That was March to May. But I went ahead and took that step and made the commitment so I wouldn't give up on my dreams. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but I tried to record this earlier and it didn't record. And I was like, no, I don't know. God's laid it on my heart to put it out there. So anyway, if that's you, then today you need to make some kind of movement. You need to make one step forward each and every day. And even if it takes you recording in the morning what step you're going to take, and then in the evening record yourself saying what you did take, what steps you took, it's documentation for yourself, and you're showing up for yourself every day. So again, I don't know who needs to hear that, but I hope it helps.